Welcome to Wisdom Exchange TV, Ignite Excellence Foundation initiative in support of Africa Business Women Connected Summit taking place in Ethiopia in 2013. The Wisdom Exchange is a forum to aid African women to learn, lead, and succeed in life, business, and community. It is a forum where women of all disciplines will learn from African women in politics, philanthropy, education, and business. These are the women that are the change agents of African companies, community, country, and continent. They will inspire us to stretch our vision of what we can do and what we can be. New interviews and expert perspective blogs are updated regularly, so please do subscribe so you don't miss an episode. These are the women that are the change agents of today for tomorrow. Hello, my name is Suzanne F Stevens. I'm co-producer and founder of Wisdom Exchange TV, as well as the president and founder of Ignite Excellence Group of Initiatives. One of our main mandates is the Ignite Excellence Foundation, which its mandate is to invest in developing countries, in women who are really the change agents. In addition, as an inspirational speaker, a living coach, and a business leadership and sales trainer, I've had the opportunity to work with the women we're about to work with and listen to today and be inspired by. We are in Kampala, Uganda today with our leading lady, Sylvia Owori, a trailblazer in Uganda fashion industry, a designer, publisher, a businesswoman, culminate into a media model mogul. She started Sylvia Boutique, Sylvia Owori Fashion Line, Zipper Models, African Women Magazine, I'm getting tired, I don't know about you, and not to mention, she started her own foundation as well to create jobs for women. She's won awards, the Presidential Transformation Award in 2009, Lifetime Achievement Award from Top Model Trend Search. So we're looking forward to hearing her insights. And thank you so much for joining us. It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. It's a pleasure. And the pleasure's all mine.
Well, I'll tell you, all I know is my husband does not want me to look at any more of your fashions because I'm going to spend a lot of money. So we're actually in Sylvia's store today, and we have her in our background here, her African store as well. So come and shop here, as I'm going to. Okay, to my understanding, you started your business right from school.
Yes.
What gave you the confidence to go from school to starting your own business?
To be honest with you, I don't even know where I got the confidence. I just knew that I wanted to get started into something. I knew that I never wanted to work for anybody. Straight from school, I wanted to do something, and it was very difficult coming back from London with. London is so exposed. The culture is different from the one in Uganda, but I wanted to work in Uganda. So in the beginning, it was very difficult, and this is in 1998, about 12, 13 years ago, where in my industry, I was the only fashion designer, and people did not take fashion seriously to an extent that if you wore a mini skirt, they would actually take off. They would say, okay, you want to be naked? They would just rip off everything and they'll make you walk around naked. So it was a very difficult industry to get into.
Well, so it was difficult to get into, but you stayed. I mean, it must have been tough to stay. What made you propelled to stay in this industry and not give up?
I think what made me stay in the industry and not give up is my fear of failure. I was so afraid to fail because this is all I knew I wanted to do. I wanted to be in fashion, and I knew there was no room for me to fail. And if I failed, there was nothing else I could be able to do. So there was no way I could fail.
So no safety net. Therefore, you just had one choice.
There was just one choice for me.
Now, would you recommend to other women to take this road from school to entrepreneurship?
I would not necessarily recommend because you need to be a little bit mad.
I think you do. I think you're right about that.
A little bit mad yourself because I'm a person that is not afraid to try out and venture out into anything. Mm-hmm. It's almost walking like as a blind man. But for some reason, I feel there's something I'm gonna get there. So it's just the instinct and the feeling that I know something's going to happen at the end. There's going to be light at the end of the tunnel.
So say there's a woman who just went to school in a creative field, because fashion's creative, and she decides to be an entrepreneur because she's like you. She just doesn't want to go working for somebody else. Is there any advice that you can give her to start that process?
The advice I would give to a woman who just wants to be just like me, crazy from school into work, is they need to be extremely focused. They need to make a choice, and it has to be that choice. Because once you're determined in the industry the path that now you choose, you have to put it in your mind that you cannot fail at that. You need to be sure that it is what it is, that's what you want. You cannot wake up tomorrow and change your mind and then start something else, because then you're confused. Then it's going to be difficult for you to succeed. Just to all the women out there, they need to know what they want. For example, I feel you can be the best doctor, you can be the best nurse. For me, I wanted to be the best in my line of business.
So what would have been some of the biggest challenges starting your business?
For me, one of the biggest challenges starting my business in Uganda was first of all being accepted as a fashion designer, because it was not taken that seriously at all. Mm-hmm. Actually, up to this day, a huge percentage of Africans or Ugandans prefer to actually bring in clothes from the US or from London, because it's more trendier than African clothes, which is a difference when you look at West Africa. They actually only wear their own African prints that they've created. But Uganda, we haven't. I think East Africa, we're not the same. We're a British colony, and we've actually followed so much the British in terms of how you see how people are dressed on the street. It doesn't matter how hot it is. You have the man in the office with the suit and tie and stuff. So a lot's got to do with the culture that was left behind.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other challenges in getting started besides?
Obviously, the obvious challenge, which is raising funds.
Yeah.
Because nobody would actually give you any money for something. They want to see results before they can invest in you. And for me, I didn't have a background to show that I've done this and this and this. So can you please then raise money for me to do something, move forward? So I had to get money from friends and friends and family.
And were they willing?
They were willing, but reluctantly.
Oh yeah, because I know it's hard to get money from friends and family too. Now, have you paid it back?
Yeah. I have kind of paid it back in different ways. Yeah.
Now, your business has expanded in each new initiative. I mean, you started, I believe, at a boutique first, mm-hmm. and then your clothing line came, mm-hmm. and then zipper models. Mm-hmm. I think I have the order right. Mm-hmm. What made you decide to expand the business? What was the catalyst for each new business initiative?
I think it was the demand. I started getting demand for the products that I had. So I started getting a lot of media attention because I was different. I was one person that persevered, and I promoted myself. I did my own PR. I marketed my own product. So I was in your face. I never stopped. So it came to a point where people were like, "Who is this girl?" So eventually they take notice. So from the boutique, I said, I think I should launch my clothing line, because now people have started accepting local designers. And then I started also being invited to international fashion weeks, which then, when I went for the fashion weeks, I didn't go as Sylvia Owori. I actually went as Uganda. So basically the Ugandan fashion industry the Ugandan people started to embrace me. So then when I started the fast modeling agency. Of course, it was not taken seriously, because when girls went to fashion shows and events, everybody said, "Oh, they're prostitutes." No parents could let their kids, even be involved in modeling. Then I also did the Miss Uganda beauty pageant, which I did for 4 years, of which the winner I took to Miss World. But it came to a point where I thought, okay, there's only one person that actually benefits from the pageant, and that's the winner. And then that's how African Woman then is born. And I'm thinking, okay, why don't I start something that is going to benefit a lot of women? So basically that's how African Woman came up. And fortunately, the name was not registered anywhere. And it happens to be.
Okay, that is how old is that magazine?
It's 6 years.
So that's a lucky break.
It was totally because it was not registered, and yeah, we jumped into that. We did African Woman. Basically, African Woman is a voice for women in Africa. The reason for me starting the magazine was to empower women, to help educate women, and to actually talk about the issues that affect women on a day-to-day basis. And this, I'll be talking from a perspective of an African woman that has lived and grown in Africa. But I also had an international perspective because I had lived in London for a few years. So I had that angle that I brought onto the magazine, and then it just picked on and it just became successful.
But publishing is very different than designing. I mean, I would imagine they're both businesses, but do you see a lot of the talents that you use to create clothing, the same talents and gifts you have when publishing a magazine?
I think publishing a magazine involves a lot of creativity. Mm-hmm. The writers, the photographers, a lot of the contributors are artists. Mm-hmm. in one way or the other. So there is a way the magazine actually complements the fashion. So for me, starting the magazine, I had a way where I can showcase all my clothes to be able to be seen, in Africa. That was one of the reasons of starting the magazine, but also to promote African culture, African art, African, everything to do with African, and most especially African women. I felt I was, getting international recognition, and I felt, how then can I also give this back? How can I share it? Because for me, I will be the best example, because I don't come from a rich background. Anyway, I'm a typical Ugandan African woman. So when I talk about issues and the way they are put to the magazine, I would know exactly how I want the stories to be written or directed.
Now, do you do a lot of the writing in the magazine?
No.
No. Okay. So
I hardly do any writing, but I'll dictate the direction of how the story should be able to come out.
Mm-hmm. So what advice would you give to a woman who has a successful business and she's just got one business, and when should she expand that business to other opportunities? I mean, all of yours are very complementative. So when would she be ready to embark on something else, and what should she do in order to sort of stretch from boutique to modeling agency? Any insight?
I think everybody, all the women out there, if you want to stretch your business, first stretch it within still the limits of what you do. Don't be now doing fashion and then go and start studying to be a doctor. Do something that actually complements what you do, because that way you understand your business totally now, and now you feel it's a little boring. How can I grow it? So look at the directions of how you can grow it in terms of things that can complement it. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily anything that is too away from it.
Now, did your first business finance your second business, finance your third business?
Not necessarily.
So help us understand how that would work, because
I think I wouldn't say one business will definitely directly finance the other business, but the one business would help in a way raise funds for the next business. It's because you already have a track record set, so it's much easier to move and do another business because of the other businesses that you've done.
So had you started working for somebody else, you may have had a track record faster than if you started on your own.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely, it's taken me many years to get here. Had I been, I think, in London and got the exposure that I had gotten, be successful the way I have been in Africa, out of being a billionaire, I think.
Let's go to London.
But my heart was here. Everything that I started, I was the first person to do it. We had the first glossy publication. We had the first of everything. So it's much more difficult than an industry that has already been set. But I'm happy in a way that I have now laid a foundation for the generations to come.
Well, I commend you for a couple reasons. One, for coming home, because often people go to London or the United States and they stay there, and I wish them well. But we need women like you, and I'm Canadian. I just love Africa, and I love African women. But so many people go away and don't come back, and it's really women are going to learn. Ugandan women and African women are going to learn from African women.
Yes, us in Africa, actually we look up to a lot of international celebrities, mostly African American celebrities. But it's always much better to look up to your local African woman, because you can easily much more relate to them. You can much more relate to their culture backgrounds and their upbringing and that. So so for me it was much easier coming back here and doing something for African people.
Well, I know I'm not African, but I think you've just hit the nail on the head of why we created Wisdom Exchange TV, because I was teaching here, and I felt that African women could do a better job than I could, even though I'm an expert in my field. So that's exactly why we created Wisdom Exchange TV. So now, creativity is an important part of everything you do. So tell us how you continue to develop creative ideas. Like, do you have a ritual, or what's your strategy for coming up with new designs, new concepts for the magazine, that sort of thing?
I don't necessarily have any typical rituals, but one of them is like just going away for a couple of days and just relaxing by myself with no disturbance. Nobody, no phone calls, nothing, just by myself. Then I come up with ideas. Fortunately now, it's come to a point that if you create thing upon thing, it's as much as how much you can be creative. So it comes to a point that you get a team that you feel can complement you, and then it's easier now. You just give them a brief of whatever direction you want to go, and they come up with a lot of very interesting things, half of which you like, half of which maybe you don't like. But then through that, you choose a new direction into your into your world. So the business then grows in a way that it's not just only about you, because now you have input of a lot of other creative minds and other creative people. But basically the whole direction is geared towards you.
So, that's how you expand your creativity, by hiring people. So how do you make sure that they feel that you're listening to their creativity? Because that's a leadership skill. I always work with my team. We work together usually. I work as a team. I never try to impose stuff that I feel this is what we're going to do. I always like to listen. I listen to people, listen to ideas. If I don't like the idea, I'll still say to you in a certain way that I think this is not right. Maybe this time this should be done differently. But we were always work together as a team. And just always keeping open to their ideas. And
I'm always open-minded to ideas.
Now, do you have major brainstorming sessions?
Yeah. Yes, we do have major brainstorming sessions, because we have so many things that we keep doing. Like at the moment, we're working on a collection that is going to be, that's going to be international. We're going to market it all over the world, because it's a collection that anyone can buy anywhere in the world. So it is quite a big thing. I cannot come up with a whole concept by myself.
Right.
So I get young students from universities, for example, that are so fresh in their minds that I have not totally decided which direction they want to go. And then if I give them a brief, they come up with such very fresh ideas and stuff.
That's a great idea. Go to minds that are what I'll call virgin minds and say, here, create something.
Yeah.
Now, do you ever hire any of them? those students?
I think so. I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Now, in achieving your objective, I mean, you're also a face now too, like at fashion shows, you know, people know who you are now. Is there any time that you feel really uncomfortable doing what you do?
Yeah, there's some times when I pretty feel uncomfortable. Times, okay, when they write negative stuff about me, I don't want to get out of the house, actually. I just want to stay at home. But I never retaliate. I never go call and say, why did you do this? Why did you write this stuff about me? I just keep quiet and just let it go.
Can I just expand on that? How do you, so you keep quiet, but how do you actually deal with that? When someone's personally attacking, be it a design, magazine, whatever it is, how do you kind of separate yourself from that?
I always say to myself that I must be relevant in a certain way, and that is why somebody's hitting at me or somebody's saying something at me, because if I wasn't, then it would not even make the papers. Mm-hmm. So I sit down, but I sit down and think, and actually I always say to myself, if people really want me to fail, they should never criticize me. Because when you criticize me, you make me strong. I come out even much stronger because I want to show you that I can even do what I'm doing even better. That's why I just keep myself away to come up actually with new ideas. The only way, the only way I can hit back at these people is, being more successful.
I love that. I think it's a great strategy. So, what have you learned about yourself when you get criticized? What have you learned about yourself? I've
grown a lot of. I've grown thick-skinned. I am very, naturally I'm a very soft-hearted kind of person. If somebody abused me, I'll just walk in the room, go hide away, and just cry. I've learned not to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. I have learned to accept that I have become a public figure, and not everybody's gonna like you. Some people are going to like you, some people are not going to like you. But for me, that's not the point. What I always tell to myself is like, I cannot hide good work. That's one of my philosophies. You can't hide good work. If I'm good, I'm good. If I'm good, I'll be recognized. And people buy my products all over the world. So if you don't like me as an individual, on a personal one-to-one, it doesn't really affect me in any way. As long as you still buy my product.
I love it, a true businesswoman. What has been the most significant impact you feel you've made in your career?
I think the biggest impact I feel I've made in my career is transforming the fashion industry in East Africa. Because 12 years ago, nobody recognized any designers. There was no magazine, there were no models. I think it's been, that has been a very significant part from a business point. From a personal note, it's been, I have two boys. I think they're the most important and most, I would say I feel most successful in a way. I feel more fulfilled having my two boys.
So being a pioneer, but yet also having two kids, that those boys, now do you do men's designs?
I do.
You do, okay. Because I'm just thinking, not having a little girl, I mean, I would love you as my mother. What, if you were to attribute your success to one thing, be it a personality part of you or an event that occurred in your life, what would that one thing be?
It would be perseverance.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, the most challenging aspect of my career now is a recognition.
Expand on that.
There's still, as much as you get, as much as I feel I've been recognized enough in Africa. But now I feel I want to be recognized by the rest of the world. So I feel that's a challenge to me to be able to do that. Once I've done that, and then I'll feel kind of fulfilled in my.
Now, why is that important to you?
It's important. That's important to me because it's something that I set out as one of my dreams when I started out. I wanted to be, I felt I wanted to be the best that I can be as Sylvia. And I feel I have taken steps towards that. And I feel there's still more to do, quite a lot more work to do towards that. But because once, it's important that I fulfill my journey.
Now, it's important for you to fulfill your journey, and I can totally appreciate that. Is there any bearing on, and I'm picking up other things that you said earlier on in the interview, is it important at all that African fashion is taken seriously in the international?
I mean, it's very important, and at the moment, all the international designers are looking to Africa for inspiration. You can see all the runways now are full of African prints. So that's a huge recognition for African fabrics and African, I wouldn't say necessarily African designers, but the African culture. Because that's just the beginning for the recognition for Africa. So it is, we're going towards the right direction.
Yeah, I think in a lot of areas, Africa's time is now, and you can really feel it.
I feel that too. That's why I'm taking advantage, totally taking advantage of that. And one way that I'm doing that is like the stuff that we're doing at the moment with women. How I'm going to change, I actually want to change the perspective of how women are looked at in Africa, mostly in Uganda. There's a very big percentage of women that are not employed, and I feel I want to give something back to these women through something that I love, which is fashion. So we've set up our very first pilot project in a district here in Uganda, where now women are making like t-shirts made out of Ugandan cotton, and then they just hand beat them or put kitenge or kikoy on them, and that is going for the international market. So like thousands of pieces to international market. So we have international buyers now coming to us. So for me, I feel my contribution is like creating employment for these women and getting them business all over, in everywhere, all over the world. And the reason for me is because the items that they are making are your daily essential items. There are sandals, t-shirts, headbands, things that are laptop bags that are done by a woman who's never been to school. But this is, if you buy a bag or buy something from a store, the money is going directly to her pocket. So that is making a difference. What I don't believe in is just us getting donations and handouts, because a lot of them end up in the wrong pockets anyway. But if we promote this, I want to be able to do it in every district in Uganda, and then move it. Hopefully, other people can copy the model and move it all over Africa. That way, we will have empowered women.
Yeah, offline you and I will talk about handouts. I'm not a fan. I'm with you on that. So what would you say would be the most significant decision that you have made in your career?
I think the most significant decision I've made in my career is starting business straight from school, and starting business with something that I did not have a clue about. So I think that was mad. When right now, I couldn't do it, because I think I was young, I had a lot of energy. Nothing could stop me. I just knew I want to do this. But luckily, it's taking me to the right direction. But I wouldn't do it.
And I think that's also important. You wouldn't do it now, and that's pretty significant. I think sometimes ignorance is bliss. Yes. When you don't know what you're getting yourself into, is probably the best way when you're younger. And then when you realize, I came out at the right time on the other end. But you were a pioneer. And if you weren't a pioneer, things may have been very different.
Totally different.
Yeah.
No, except that because my mother always told me, I think you're mad. Everything I decided I was trying to do, she was like, you're my little girl, you can't do something like that. She was like, no, you can't do it. Because she she didn't say it because she didn't believe in me, but she would just look and say, oh, it's impossible. It's almost impossible for you to do. How are you going to pull this off?
Have you ever done an initiative that, and it could be any initiative, that didn't work? And if you can think of one and give us an example and what you did to rectify that or what you learned from that experience?
Yeah, I had some investors come and they gave me an idea, which I thought was good. It was setting up a club, like a really high-end kind of club, and we started the construction, did everything. Halfway down the line, they didn't fulfill their side of the deal. So I felt, that I failed at it. I had to give up everything up and lost a lot of money. But yeah, it's one thing that I felt that I failed at, but I picked myself up and I said, okay, I should have not gone into something that I am not, that I wasn't confident. I was convinced to go into a business. So that was a very good example for me to say, okay, you see, you should not go into what you don't understand. Because now, if it doesn't work out, it was me who took who took the stick. It's me who took the losses, and yeah.
That's a really good example of stick to what you know. Really good example. Now, this is called our edgeness segment, okay? And what that means is something that you've done that made you uncomfortable, but you have to continue doing it all the time in order to get the success that you've received. Mm-hmm. Do you have something that you've been really uncomfortable doing all the time, but you have to continue doing it?
Not really.
No?
No, I don't think there's anything because if I'm uncomfortable with something, I'll stop doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't look at myself in the mirror and wake up and say, I'm going to work, but I don't like to go to work. I'm going to go to work anyway.
Mm-hmm.
No, I wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't do
it? I wouldn't last in that. So I would not advise people to be. If you feel you're in a job and you're not happy waking up every morning to go to the job, I think you're totally in the wrong job.
Yeah, and I guess what I'm talking about is, here's an example, is for years I was uncomfortable presenting. I present for a living now. The reason I do is the message I want to give. That's more important to me than the discomfort. Mm-hmm. Discomfort, and just a different view, is if you're not comfortable, don't do it. My thing is, often if you're uncomfortable, do it so that you become comfortable and successful doing it. Mm-hmm. And everyone is different. Mm-hmm. But my guess is, when you started, you just kept going. You didn't have time for any of that.
I just kept going.
Now that being said, when you did start your business, any of the businesses, did you perceive that you would have any obstacles? Like, did you think, okay, this could be a challenge to get this started? And if you did have any, what were they?
In starting any business, there's always a challenge. There's always a financial challenge.
Right.
Because when you start to grow, you need more finance. You have demand for your things, so you need more money. There's always a challenge. But what has happened with me, I was like, okay, I'll go. Let me deal with it when I get to that. Let me deal with it when I get to that point. And when you get to that point, you find a way of dealing with with the pressure mm-hmm. and the challenges of that very point in time. So I just deal with when I get to it. That I'm not going to stop because I'm afraid to get there. I want to get there and then see, test the waters and then either move forward or stay in the same place until I can move another step ahead.
Do you look really far ahead? So you look really far ahead, and then what do?
I can look like 20, 30 years ahead right now. And I don't even know why I had to look that far ahead. But it's something like, it's almost like a vision that I have. And the way I have actually broken it down to the people that know me, the people that I work with, my team, and everybody, I've told them I am on the train. Along the way, my train is going to reach a certain destination one day. And along the way, people coming onto the train, hopping off, coming off, You get fired, you go back, a new person comes. But I feel I'm going to reach my destination one day.
Do you ever? Oh, sorry.
So are you going to be a part of that? Are you going to be at the end when the train now reaches its destination? So that's how I've explained it to myself. And
Do you ever find stress in that? Stress of the destination? Of course you're enjoying the journey, but do you ever feel a sense of stress of there's that destination that I feel a little
I'm actually excited. It's just a lot of excitement for me to get there. So I know that every day I want to be able to be on that train and to be able to get there. So I don't stress myself of when am I going to get there.
So Sylvia, what does success mean to you?
Success means a lot to me. It makes me, feel a huge sense of fulfillment. It makes me feel that I've come to this world and I've done something with myself.
So how would you define it then, success? If you were to define success, it would look like what?
If I were to define success, it would be something like I have done everything that I feel I can do as an individual. I would not value it in terms of monetary, but I will determine it as what I have done as an individual, how much I have pushed myself, how much I've done and gotten the best out of me. So I'll feel successful. Like now, I don't feel very successful because I feel there's so much more that I can be able to do.
Mm-hmm. So this is our leadership lesson segment. So as a leader, what do you find are the 3 most powerful pieces of advice, they don't have to be power, don't want to put that much pressure on it, you can give to someone trying to lead a project or a team or an initiative?
I think one of the things that I would say as a leader is credibility. Because once you have credibility, you set up, it's a foundation for everything. If you've set up that kind of credibility foundation, then it's so difficult for you so now you've set up something for life, for many, many years to come. And if you're not around, everybody should go away that has been with you, should go away, that land that you need to be credible.
So credible. What else? What other advice would you give to?
Take upon yourself the challenges that come to you. Find a way of, working around them well, and find a way of dealing with them well. Because at the end of the day, the way you deal with the challenges is what is going to make you great. Because
Something I always say with that, it's not what happens to you, it's how you deal with it. And people remember how you deal with things, they don't remember what happened to you.
They don't. Exactly.
So, which becomes very important, especially being in the public eye.
And the last one is like, you have to lead by example, or you don't lead at all. Yeah, you need to you need to be able to set an example.
All really, really important leadership pieces of advice. Now, was there any time that you needed to compromise your values in order to do what you needed to do?
Fortunately not. Because if I have to compromise or if I had to compromise my values, then I would be doing the wrong thing. I feel that I can be successful in anything that I put my mind to. So if I have to cut corners to get to that, then I'm in the wrong job. So there's no way I compromise my values for anything to get somewhere quicker, faster.
So this is a long train ride.
It's a long one.
Is there one thing you would do differently in the pursuit of your success? And if there was, what would it be?
I would, at the moment, in terms of business, in terms of personal, and I wouldn't change anything. But in terms of business, I'll be more careful with how I would manage finances.
So what's next for you?
what's next for Sylvia is taking on the world. I feel I want to go into television. And I've told many people I could do a television show from Africa that can be better than opera. And everybody will say, you're mad, it can never be. And they'll say, and I said, okay, let's wait and see. And they'll ask me, okay, what would you do different? And why would you want to do a television show that would be the biggest television show in the world? And my answer there is, I feel in Africa there's so much, it's so vibrant, there's so much happening here that the rest of the world don't know about. There's so many stories. Just by walking on the streets every day, you can see what is happening. When it comes to women in Africa, there is so much that they want. I want to be that voice for them to speak out to the things that affect them on a day-to-day basis. The TV show will definitely totally be different because it's real. It will be like real life. It's not just make me over, and it will be like real life stories from Africa that have never been seen or heard of anywhere in the world.
Well, my next question is, what were you going to do that you haven't done yet? But I think you just answered. I think you just answered that one. So I know you have two little boys. How old are they?
One is 4 years. The other is 1 year now.
Oh, okay, real young.
Yeah.
So let's say you had a daughter, and she was 10 today. Okay. What words of wisdom would you give to her?
That would be so difficult because I was praying not to have a girl as a firstborn, and God granted me that wish, because if she had a personality like mine, it would be very difficult. I don't know how we would manage that, each other in the house.
God was looking after you then, I think.
Yeah, but now I have two boys that can actually protect me from her. If she became if she was exactly like me. But if I had, a 10-year-old daughter, I would encourage her to do anything that she feels she wants to do in life. I would tell her that, she could be anything she wanted to be. So I would support and encourage her in anything she would follow, any career path she would follow.
Which leads sort of to the second last question is, what do you wish you were told at 10 years old?
I wish I was told that the world is so hard. I wish I just stayed 10 years, up to now, since 10. I wish I was told self-love. Everything that I know today, I have to actually told myself. I was told self-love, and that if you don't love yourself, you cannot love anybody else. You have to love yourself first, and then love.
Wonderful words. Which leads to the final question of, what words of wisdom would you like to impart to African women?
The first word of wisdom would be, the first word of wisdom to African women out there is the way you feed your body, you should be able to feed your mind in the same way. You should be able to associate and surround yourself with positive things and positive images and positive people.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for joining us on Wisdom Exchange TV. Again, my name is Suzanne F Stevens, and I co-produce Wisdom Exchange TV with my husband, Michael K. Ginrich. We're traveling through Africa, interviewing women just like Sylvia. So if you know a woman that is a leader, a trailblazer, a pioneer, please email us at info@wisdomexchangetv.com, and we'll research this person and see if they qualify. And also, if you work for an organization or lead an organization that wants to tap into women leaders, business leaders all over Africa, Africa Business Women Connected Summit, taking place in Ethiopia in 2013, is inviting 2 top businesswomen from every country in Africa, and you can get in touch with those women by sponsoring. If you go to Wisdom Exchange and about ABW, you get lots of information there. Again, my name is Suzanne F Stevens, and I want to leave you with my words of wisdom. And we were talking about creativity today. So what I encourage you to do with your team is when someone has an idea, always accept the idea. Don't say but, say and add to it. And by doing that, you're going to get creativity and possibilities that will be endless. Thanks for joining us.